Mike Beckett here from The Dead Prophet. I hope you enjoy this two-part series of my interview with Chris Rosebrough as we go ahead and kind of define what is wokeism. Hi, welcome to The Dead Prophet. I'm your host, Mike Beckett. It's an honor and privilege and joy to have Chris Rosebrough back on the show. Chris, you are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to talking about charismatic movement, talking about the false prophets, the false teachings that are out there. And I know when we had left our discussion last time on the show, we had kind of just started talking a little briefly about woke theology and what is woke and wokeism. And I'm hoping today we can kind of chew through that and inform my viewers of what that is and why we should be concerned, and maybe having to go back to revisit, modernism and postmodernism and what those are and how they play into this whole wokeism. But I'm so glad you're able to join us back on the show today. And I'm not going to waste any time. I want to get into this topic because this is something that is, after the inauguration, is starting to, like, the wokes are coming out and trying to rebuke President Trump for, trying to say there's just two genders, male and female, which Bible and teaching and history and science seem to prove. And so what is woke? And then the question would be then, with that understanding of what is woke, what has morphed into woke theology?
Okay, so at its core, woke is an embracing of a postmodern worldview, and then along with that, embracing legitimately Marxist and communist ideology. The two have gone together. So it's a rejection of reason in favor of feelings. It is like ridiculously obsessed with racial identity. I mean, like legitimately in a very racist way. It wants government redistribution. This is what it calls equity. Everyone, in their way of looking at things, beauty is somehow oppressive and part of the toxic patriarchy. So it rejects all forms of like traditional power and considers them to be oppressive. So it gets embodied in the idea that down with the patriarchy. The patriarchy is responsible for slavery. The patriarchy is responsible for oppressing minorities and women and keeping them down. And so the idea then is that they kind of view everything in the terms of power. And they want power in order to destroy the power of those who oppress, and that's anybody who's a white Christian male. You automatically are considered, to be the problem. They absolutely think the U.S. Constitution is dead. They are perpetual victims. They are complete collectivists. They identify people according to groups. And then in their way of looking at things, there's like oppression points. Like the most important people, are the ones who the most oppressed. And so, since white Christian males are not oppressed, they're the oppressors. The people that they want to celebrate, they want to bring to the forefront, are what they consider the most oppressed people. The minority lesbian with the blue-haired, crazy kind of stuff. So. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not a coherent worldview, but it is legitimately a reaction against modernity and what they considered to be, the cause of people being oppressed and pushed down and marginalized and kept from participating in power. And so it's a very revolutionary ideology. It's an extremely dangerous one. And I would note, in our day, we also have to note that there's been a backlash, a counter-reaction to the woke left that has resulted in some people legitimately embracing true fascism and Nazism, and wanting to go back to racial segregation and reinstituting slavery, make the United States into a white ethnic state. So the best way I can describe this is that both ideas are two sides of the same coin. Neither of them are correct. Both of them are heretical when brought into Christianity, and biblical Christianity is neither woke left nor is it woke right. And so I would say both those ideas have a lot in common with each other.
And it's interesting because it sounds to me that in the anti-racist kind of undertone, if you will, that they kind of want to have, they are in and of themselves 100% racist. And I remember when we were attending a local Methodist church, they were going through that split. And it was right after the Supreme Court, I think, made a ruling on transgender, gay, lesbian, and the bishop, who happened to be African American, had made a comment, gay, straight, trans, here to stay forever, just to kind of push the those of who were wanting out of the Methodist movement going. But I remember she had made a comment in one of the conferences that they had local conferences. They used to have the Methodists used to have their conferences, sectional, regional, whatever you call it, conferences at a university called Grove City College
Hmm.
out here in Pennsylvania. And she had made the comment, since Grove City refuses to acknowledge woke theology and wants to continue to be on the racist spectrum, we will no longer be going there for our conferences. And I've kind of thought to myself, I don't understand, like, why you would think that because we say we're not going to teach this falsehood, this
Hmm.
kind of false reality, why you would say they'd be racist. But it sounds to me that the ultimate goal of wokeism is any oppressed or underrepresented group, if not a minority, definitely the LGBTQ community, needs to, kind of step up and kind of be represented and be taught about. Is that kind of where we're going?
It's more than that. It's not, they need to be celebrated with the goal of them being put in power in order to break and destroy the oppressive, the oppressive power structures of the evil racist patriarchy. So the idea here is that they view everything kind of from like the point of view of like a war between ideologies, and in their worldview, they are the protagonists. They are the ones who are liberating people from oppressive power structures that are designed to keep them down. And so when you talk about the racist spectrum, the idea here is that they don't define racism in any meaningful way. So a guy who grew up in a neighborhood that had people of different ethnicities, who went to schools with people of different ethnicities, has friends of people with different ethnicities and different skin colors, maybe even has married a gal who has a different skin color than his. He's still a racist because he's participating in the society created by people who were racists, and they set things up in such a way, apparently, so that that he can succeed at the cost of everybody else. They are going to be oppressed because the whole system is designed to favor and give privilege to people who have white skin. And I'll be blunt, the whole thing is nothing but a conspiracy theory. And so what happens is that you are racist by merely being a white American and waving your flag and being in favor of the Constitution, because according to them, that's the thing that's got to go, because the Constitution is the thing that has established this whole racist society, and it was created by a bunch of white slave owners in order to basically keep people who look like them in power. That's their theory. The whole thing is a conspiracy theory, and worse, it's a breaking of the commandment: you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor, and it is a complete denial of the fact that God is the one who establishes governments. And so they're legitimately calling for the overthrow of the U.S. government by basically working within it to subvert it and basically bring it to an end. And what they want to put in its place is some kind of weird utopian, multi-ethnic thing where the white people are not only not participating, they're forbidden to participate as kind of retaliation for the millennia of oppression that Europeans have put onto the rest of the world. So
I re-
again, it's
yeah.
a complete conspiracy theory.
I remember, I don't know if it was Malcolm X or it was Farrakhan who said the only way that the United States can be a true United States is if we have one white United States and one black United States. I don't remember which one of those it was. But so when we talk about woke, I remember probably about 8 or 10 years ago, there was this big push during the second term of the Obama administration. There was this push coming out of the White House, coming out of Congress about white privilege,
Hmm.
about that because people are white, they have privilege. And I know there's kind of some misconceptions in that, but I kind of think to myself, I didn't grow up with money. I didn't grow up with wealth.
Yeah.
I grew up in a low middle class family. My dad worked every bit hard of what he did to get where he's at today. I work, I struggle. Things don't, I don't go to my mailbox and have checks in there all the time,
Yeah.
but I have to work a couple jobs to get what I need. And so I never quite understood what this white privilege was, but it sounds to me almost like that white privilege push ideology kind of has morphed into this whole woke theology that we're
Hmm.
seeing today. So, and it seems very clear from what you've just said that the reality is woke is racist in and of itself, racist against white, male, Christian people.
Yeah, it's a reaction against what they perceive as oppressive power at the hands of white Christian males. And the white Christian males are the enemy that have to be defeated. And so this is how this all is put out. But the whole thing is based upon pure rhetoric and feelings, not actual true facts or anything of the sort.